This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Philippines, good evening. Naimbag garabi, masantos siya sa labi si kayo amin. Maya pa bengi keka, marahin na banggi sa indugubos. Maupay nga gabi, iyo nga tanan dida. Buenas noches. Mayong gabi sa Tibok Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, up to Philippines, Sabah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Ako po si Eric Espina at ito ang inyong nag-iisang republika. Part of the societal discourse that will continue as part of our country living in a global community are the so-called forces that continue to bedevil us in terms of liberalism and conservatism, between atheism and our own salvation. And this is manifested, of course, in our daily lives, especially in our politics, in the policies that government comes up with, or legislation that is the subject of our current discussion, which is about divorce, mixed marriages, and if we're lucky and we have enough time, maybe even deliverances in your house, especially when they're infested with, you will never believe it, elementals, duendes, and devils. So we are very fortunate, fresh from Tarlac, traveled all the way from Tarlac, and we want to acknowledge this. Father Melvin P. Castro, he is the chancellor, Diocese of Tarlac. Good evening,
Good
Father.
evening po,
Yes.
and to all our viewers.
Yes, Father. So, issue of divorce. The position of the Catholic Church is very clear on this. There's no two ways about it. However, it allows for annulment.
Yes.
So, Father, what's, for purposes of just laying the predicate, the difference between divorce and how come the church allows annulment? Some people say, oh, the annulment of the church is actually just the same. So please explain to us.
Ang annulment po kasi, the declaration of annulment or nullity, it means in the first place po, there was no valid marriage to speak of.
Okay.
So the church simply says, wala palang valid na marriage na naganap, so they can remarry.
From the very beginning, in short.
From the very ab initio, wala
Okay,
talaga.
okay.
Samantalang ang divorce po is we are conceding may valid marriage. Yun nga lang, dahil may problema, one way or the other, the civil court says, oh, hiwalay na lang kayo. Well, not yet in the Philippines
Yes,
anyway.
yes.
But in the lalo na sa Western countries, so the civil court will simply say, oh, maghiwalay kayo dahil may problema. Pero, conceding to the fact that may valid marriage in the first place.
As far as divorce is concerned.
Right.
And then when you talk about legal separation, meron ba sa church ng legal separation, Father?
Under the canon law, allowed po ang bishops to declare not legal separation, physical separation.
Okay.
Kung talaga pong may problemang matindi at hindi pa naanal, kasi po, believe it or not, no, under church law, yun po mga mag-asawang, for example, may violence na nangyayari, may problema at naghiwalay, hindi po pwedeng basta na lang maghiwalay eh. Kailangan din ng declaration ng church, o sige, you physically be separated. And then, saka pa lang natin, habang inaayos siguro yung nullity or talagang eventually ma-declare ngang annulled yung marriage nila.
this declaration of physical separation is not very much given
No.
emphasis, no?
Unfortunately, no.
It's not part of the narrative.
No.
Even the church, I mean, even I this is the first time I'm hearing it. But how many people know about this declaration?
Unfortunately po, it's part of the provision of the church law, pero hindi po, seldom used.
Okay.
Kasi actually po, ang gustong agad, para po kasi may moral basis ng physical separation, ideklara na munang annulled.
Okay.
Pero po ito is bakit nilagay ng church yun? One reason will be may violence na nangyayari between the spouses, lalo na ang dihado madalas yung
Babae.
wife. Pero believe it or not po,
Meron din lalaking dehado.
I have known 2 cases at least na battered husbands.
Battered husbands.
Yes, believe it or not.
Ano ho? Battered as in
Physically.
physically.
Mas violent ang woman spouse, believe it or not.
Akala ko kasi pag lalaki, combat.
We live in a different age na po talaga.
Alam mo yung biruan, Father, combat daw pag lalaki. Pero pag babae daw, kumbatukan ni Mrs. yun ang mga kwento. But you mean to say physical violence as in sinusuntok yung lalaki?
Right. Kinakalmot.
May
Sugatan.
scratches?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
and then anything being used to hit the husband? Wala naman.
Yes.
Meron din.
Ay, comedy po mga sandok,
Ganon.
the kitchen
Kaldero,
wares.
ganon. Okay.
Believe it or not.
So it's in this case, it is the man moving forward asking for declaration of physical separation or annulment, parang ganon.
Right. Believe it or not.
But Father, this brings the point. Does physical violence form the basis for annulment as far as the church is concerned?
Not only po. Kasi po para masabi nating annulled, walang valid marriage ab initio from the beginning,
yes.
marami pong context. For example po, sa case muna po ng church law, under duress yung consent.
Okay. Shotgun wedding in short.
In short. Pero pwede pong, kasi iniisip ng iba na shotgun, literal na shotgun. Alam niyo naman tayong Pilipino. Yun talagang may force, na puwersa lang siyang makipag-asawa. Mapoprove naman po yan sa sa
So
matrimonial.
you would say kung napikot, yung term na napikot,
Yes.
that is vitiated consent. That means that's void ab initio.
Right.
Pinakasalan ko dahil buntis.
Right.
Pwede yun pwedeng basis for annulment yun.
Among many reasons.
Among many.
po.
Okay, let's go through them kasi we may be able to somehow skirt the issue of divorce and then we'll see how these things can be
Sa
meshed
totoo
together.
lamang po, ang dami na pong basis, be it in the church law or in the civil law, marami na pong grounds for declaration of nullity.
Okay.
Actually po yung family code during the time of Tita Cory, that was frowned upon by Archbishop Oscar Cruz, it was a liberalization of
ganun ho.
yes, a declaration of annulment in the civil court.
Okay.
It was a liberal interpretation of the law. Kaya po sa totoo lang, hindi kailangan talaga ang divorce.
So, you have physical violence, no? And then,
Ito po yung ang most...
sa church muna, sa church, physical violence, hindi grounds yun.
No.
He never a ground.
No.
Not even kung papatayin ka na.
Well, ibang usapan.
Iba na namang usapan yun kung papatayin ka. So, this is several degrees different now.
Opo, that's true.
So,
right.
that can be considered. Are
Of
you
course
saying
naman
pwede?
po. Pwede
Kung
pong-
let's say my husband is going to kill me, that can be enough for annulment? Or treatment?
No. Kasi po, it can be a symptom of a bigger problem.
Okay.
Psychological incapacity.
Psychological
Yan
incapacity.
nga po yung oft-repeated na ginagamit
battering.
na case.
Oo.
Opo, na yung mga physical violence is just a symptoms of a deeper problem, which
Okay.
might be psychological incapacity. That in
Okay.
the first place, when you gave your consent during the marriage rite, ang buong pag-aakala mo, yun yung pagkatao ng asawa mo.
Question.
Yung pala ay hindi.
Question, you get into a marriage, you are aware, my husband is a drug addict, my husband is prone to physical violence, or as in this case, my wife is prone to physical violence, no? And you go into, making your wedding vows, etc., etc. You cannot back down from that.
Po, I'll give a nuance. Kasi po ang
yes.
problema is, strictly speaking, parang tinanggap mo na yan eh.
Tanggap mo na siya na
Pero
siya, ganun.
po, pagdating sa tribunal, be it in the church or in the civil,
Oo.
ang dali niyo na pong sabihin na hindi ko alam to lahat eh.
Deny and deny.
Posible pong mangyari talaga yun dahil hindi naman po magpapa-undergo ng process ng annulment kung walang naging problema in the first place.
Okay.
So, the moment pong maglabasa na ang problema, you will already cite all the instances para masabi mong ito yung grounds for the declaration ng nullity.
Because there are some brides or grooms who think that when they get married, it solves the problem, that they are able to change their respective partners. But it does not actually change what was already endemic in their character. So,
Tama po. Meron po tayong beautiful theological phrase.
uh,
Grace builds upon nature, it does not destroy it.
okay.
So yung human nature, andyan yan eh. The grace of God can, of course, complement it, correct it,
Yes.
pero hindi niya pwedeng palitan yun totally. Kasi ando dun yung freedom ng tao. Eh.
Okay.
So, yan po, masakit po ang case ng it is a painful process ang annulment process,
Yes,
civil or church.
Yes.
Pero kung talagang ganun po kalalim ang problema, then they will undergo that.
How about kung yung wife na anak ka ng ibang lalaki, or yung husband naman nakaanak ng ibang babae, can that be a ground for annulment or it's again we go back to the same of is there a deeper problem
Right.
to this?
Precisely.
Yun na naman ang titignan.
Example po, maraming cases sa atin ng yun pong babaero, paulit-ulit.
yes.
Pinatawad ng babae, pinatawad ng babae.
Oo.
So, it's just a symptom of a deeper problem which will be cited as the ground for the declaration ng annulment.
Okay. So this manifests
Immaturity.
immaturity, that will be called immaturity in that sense. How about, for example, you're expected to procreate, you're supposed to have children. The wife is unwilling or is unable, the husband is unwilling or is even unable. Can that be a ground for annulment?
Sterility po, hindi eh.
Hindi.
Unless it was hidden from you.
Okay, mabuti yun. Maraming nakikinig saan, natututo, no?
Even po, homosexuality.
Okay, so
If you knew beforehand,
okay, let's start first with sterility and then we'll move to that. Okay, sterility. If it was hidden from you,
it can be a ground kasi you were not totally honest with the person. But it was only found out later.
afterwards,
Hindi po na siya ground. Kasi when you marry a person,
for procreation is
no po, I mean, you marry the person in his or her entirety.
okay.
If later on
Weaknesses and everything,
Right,
yes.
precisely po.
Okay.
So when you later on you discover na sterile pala siya, later on,
Okay.
at hindi naman niya talaga alam din, then
Oo.
it is not a ground. It will be part of the married life now.
It will be part of the citations you will be making for the annulment.
Kung it was hidden, purposely, intentionally hidden by the sterile spouse.
This includes, therefore, the woman being unable to conceive and the man being sterile also.
Opo. Or yes, precisely.
Okay, when you say sterile, Father, you mean to say unable to have children.
Right. In the case of man, yung impotence.
Okay.
Pero, of course, I'm saying this, no?
There are some who will say, quietly, they will say, I want an annulment because our sex life is not happy and we cannot even have children when Republica returns.